Hey there, everybody. So, with Disney's Food and Wine at EPCOT opening up last week, I took a look through the menu items and saw some intriguing items on there. And the most intriguing was this Pickle Milkshake from Wing Brew Labs at the Odyssey. So, when I saw it, I said, well, we might not be going down this year, but challenge accepted. So I wanted to give it an actual try to make this. And I also want to make it in such a way that anybody can make it. You don't need a fancy ice cream maker or one of the churning machines to make ice cream the traditional way. You can actually do it with some simple ingredients and a blender. And by simple ingredients, I also mean few ingredients too, because this has about four. So first you have heavy cream, 16 ounces of that or a pint. We have a can of sweetened condensed milk. There's a 14-ounce can. We also have some fresh pickles and obviously the pickle juice that they're in, and a pickle seasoning that I found at Trader Joe's. And if you've ever been to Trader Joe's, you realize they have a whole interesting line of seasonings that really spice things up for whatever your profile is. I bought this to do a twist on jalapeno poppers, where I use a pickle instead, stuff it with cream cheese, wrap it in bacon, smoke it for 2.5 hours, a little bit of seasoning on it. That's another day, that's another story. So, this is what we're gonna do to make this. Alright, so what we're making is a fancy word is a pickle consomme, but it's really just a reverse pickle mash, where we're going to leave the pulp behind and take the juice. So we start with 3 ounces of the pickle brine, directly from the jar. Whatever you're using is fine for the pickles. And then 5 ounces of, this is sliced pickles. You can use wholes, give them a rough chop, whatever, really whatever you want, because you're blending this down pretty far. I do start the power on the blender a little lower, just so it doesn't kind of blow up, and because there's so much solid mass in there, and then kind of ramp up the speed. So when you see me doing that, that's really why, because I just don't want it to be a complete and utter mess. So we blend that, get up to about half speed on this blender, and now we're going to strain this into a bowl. So you can see I have a mesh strainer over a mixing bowl. Pouring the liquid in, and you can see there's a decent amount of like kind of foam pulp in there, and you want to work that through the strainer. You really want to give it a nice, kind of brush around. You can see what I'm doing. It's almost like using like a paintbrush, right? You're going back and forth over the fine mesh, just to get all the liquid through and really just leaving that pulp behind, because there's a lot of things in there that you're really not going to want to drink in an actual milkshake. As much as this is kind of a, I call it an intriguing item. So weird item is a good way to say it, but we're going to make this as best we can, and we're going to make this the right way. So that's why you really see me working it there and trying to get all that liquid out. So now we're going to start this off in the blender, now that we have that prepared. And the first thing you want to do is to put your heavy cream in there. So like I said, this is a pint, 16 ounces of heavy cream. And I'm going to start this blender on low again. But what we're doing here is, this kind of takes the place of an ice cream churner, where we are incorporating air into this. So what we're doing is basically taking the blender, blending it all up, making whipped cream. And you can see I just kind of took a look at it. I don't want to over whip this, so I almost want to keep testing it on the, the cautious side, right? So now to the point where I want to be, that it's whipped cream, it's slightly coming off the spoon but staying on there, and that's where I'm going to add this sweetened condensed milk. And the sweetened condensed milk is going to take a lot of the place of the other ingredients you'd normally put into when you're making ice cream. This is going to give it a nice sweetness. It's already in there. It's going to give it a nice texture. I've seen some other ways to do this. Some people utilize cream cheese when they're doing this non-churn method. I kind of just went with this more traditional non-churn way. And now I'm adding in that pickle juice that we mashed down. And I'm going to put a little bit of seasoning in there. I'm not going to go too heavy on this. This might be like a half a teaspoon. Maybe a little bit more, but I'm really trying not to go too heavy on it. And I'm going to give this a nice blend now to incorporate all of these ingredients. But again, I want to be wary of the fact that it's cream in there that's turned into whipped cream, because if you over blend that, it's not going to have the proper texture. So what we're looking at here is maybe a 15-20 second blend, just on medium power. And now, as you can see, it's got a good texture to it. It's got a good viscosity to it. It's kind of like, almost like paint dripping off a paintbrush is the best way to describe it. And what I'm going to do next is I have a chilled loaf pan that I had in the freezer for about an hour. And now I'm just filling it up. You can see how the thickness of that, and it really does. It looks like, the best analogy for this is melted ice cream, which essentially it kind of is. So doing this, just kind of smoothing out the top, making this kind of even. No for real reason other than I just want it to be even. But we're gonna do this and now cover it up with tinfoil or plastic wrap, if you will. You might even have one of these loaf pans that have a cover on it. It's probably not the worst thing in the world. But this, like I said, I'm just wrapping this up in tinfoil, and I'm going to put this in the freezer. You need a minimum of 5 hours. I did check on this after 5 hours, and it was a little bit slushy still, a little bit loose. So I left it overnight, and now you're going to see the finished product is completely frozen ice cream. I did give this a little taste test just to make sure that the texture was right. And with the exception of the flavor, it tastes exactly like ice cream. This could pass for something that somebody would sell at a restaurant or at least at a pop-up ice cream shop in the summer. So what we're doing, I don't have an ice cream scoop, which is probably a good thing for my health. But I've probably added about 4 ounces, 5 ounces of ice cream in this. And now I have 5 ounces of just milk. This is just regular 2% milk I have in the fridge. And I'm also adding 3 more ounces of just roughly chopped up pickles, because now I want to give this a little texture that's intended, where I didn't want to do that before it froze. Also, the last thing I'm doing is adding in a little bit of green food coloring, because I believe that's the way Disney presents it, and I wanted this to at least be as close to possible to what their look was, so that you could really get a, one-for-one comparison here. So now I'm going to put this on medium. I'm going to blend it up. It looks like St. Patty's Day with the beer. All that green just splashing around. But it's definitely in a milkshake texture, if you will. It's definitely smoothed out. This is, generally the ratio you want to go, about half milk, half ice cream, which is what I did. And really adding in the pickles didn't give it too much of a difference in that. So the next thing you're going to see is I'm going to grab a glass and I am going to pour this off, fill it up. I have a nice, this is probably a 14-ounce little wine goblet glass that I have. I personally don't like drinking out of mason jars because I think they're a mess sometimes when you drink out of them. So this is what we have. All right. All right. We're going to give this a try now. And as you can see, we get a nice green color. Little food coloring, I'm going to do that to you. And I don't even know what to say right now. I'm going to give this a whirl and see what happens to me. Oh my God, it's actually pickle ice cream in a pickle milkshake. This is not bad. Oh my God, it's actually pickle ice cream. It's actually not bad. I don't know how much of this I could drink in the Florida heat. However, for what it is, it's actually kind of refreshing. I can't believe I'm saying this. It's really good. I'm not gonna lie, it's good. If you like pickles, you're probably gonna like this. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Take care.